This is Straight Talk with it live immediate Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the Preacher Man.
Well, welcome today to another edition of Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan E. Jones. Shanan is going to join us in a little bit, but let me just say that Shanan is having technical difficulty, and so he's going to be joining us by way of his phone. And we'll have a picture of Shanan. He's on location. Let me just say it like that, because Shanan will go on location in a New York minute. We'll be back with you after Miss C. We're going to be talking about Project 2025. You need to hear what David Parkman says about Project 2025 and the danger of Project 25. We'll be showing that, and Shanan and I will be talking more about it on the other side after Miss C.
Oh, hey. Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast. Hey, Bishop Greg. Hey, Pastor Shanan. I hope you're doing well, and I hope that you out there are doing even better. Listen, I have something I want to tell you about that's really important that's coming up very soon at Liberty International Door Pope Ministries, where our own Bishop Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, is pastor. It's going to be On the Road to Justice. That's May 18th, beginning at 10:30 a.m., and it's going to feature an engaging panel. They're going to be talking to young people, telling them about the pitfalls of getting in trouble and how it burdens their parents. And, you know, it really affects your life forever. You get in trouble, you get a record, and, you have a lot to overcome. So the best thing to do is not to get in trouble at all, right? So be sure to check out this wonderful, wonderful program for young people called On the Road to Justice. That's May 18th, 10:30 a.m. at Liberty International Door Pope Ministries, 1362 Metropolitan Parkway in Atlanta. It's going to feature scenarios and games, networking opportunities with industry leaders, delicious food and refreshments, and it's sponsored by the Children's Soar Incorporated. Shady Grove Baptist Church at 1147 Osborne Street in Atlanta invites you to worship with them each Sunday at 10 a.m. The pastor is James Took Sr. Now listen, there are 4 things I'd like for you to do for me, okay? I want you to like us. I want you to subscribe to us, leave comments, and share us. Don't keep Straight Talk News to yourself. Let everybody know about Straight Talk News, okay? And listen, we'll be happy to announce your event. You just have to email it to me at straighttalknews1362 at gmail.com. That's straighttalknews1362 at gmail.com. And listen, in the meantime and in between time, may the Lord God bless you real good. Oh, happy Mother's Day to all of us mothers.
Well, back with my co-host, and Conrad, he's on location. That's what he's going to tell you. He's on location. And how about your girl, Miss C? Was she looking good today?
Looking good, yes sir. She
got on her yellow and her pretty glasses.
Always.
Miss C. Let's get that church news and information to Miss C, won't you? And send out Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com, and she'll get it on for you. Any news and information, she'll get it on for you. But I want to emphasize what we'll be doing at Liberty International Church on next week. On the 18th, at 10 o'clock. You know, we grew up at a time when our parents said trouble is easy to get in, hard to get out. Well, we're going to have some discussions about that next week, about with our young people, along with law enforcement and other people in the community, dealing with the issues of young people getting in trouble with these guns and these things like breaking in cars, all this stuff that may be happening this summer. We want to prevent that because trouble is easy to get in, but it's hard to get out. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We'll have law enforcement officers there. We'll have people out of the community, like I said, and you need to come and bring your young people to this. I've already gotten some calls, Shanan, from some parents that they want to bring their young grandkids and their kids to it so they'll know, because they're headed down the wrong path. They're fooling with the wrong crowd. So don't forget, join us next week, Liberty International Church, 1362 Metropolitan Parkway in the lovely city of Atlanta Park at 10 a.m. If you need more information about it, you can call 444-756-7546 at 444-756-7546. And the number will be up on the screen. Well, Shanan, how you doing, man? How you doing, Big Papa? How you doing?
Well, I'm out here on location, but I'm doing well. I know you let the kitty out the bag and told the folks that I'm having technical difficulties. But as you know, when I'm not present there in the studio, I'm out checking the weather, checking all the stuff that's going on. I'm out on location in an undisclosed location.
Yeah, with child.
With child.
With child. Excuse me. But listen, last week we talked about Project 2025. Now, we have a young man named David Parker who does a podcast. We're going to be showing his podcast on our podcast as he explains about what the danger is of Project 2025. And Shannon, I'll be back, and we'll tell you some things that we feel that is dangerous about Project 2025. We talked about it last week about from Greg Holloman, and he shared some things as to how they're trying to turn back the hands of time. But we're not going to let them turn back the hands of time. We're going to do what we need to do to make sure that it does not happen. We'll be back on the other side, and Shannon got some more comments for you. Big Papa will be back with me, and we'll talk a little bit more about it on the other side after Dave Parker.
About Project 2025, a little bit overblown, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to skip right to the conclusion, which is Project 2025 fears are not overblown. Project 2025 is, of course, this plan involving the Heritage Foundation and 100 other partners to, if Trump wins, if Trump becomes the president, really turn even the non-political and more bureaucratic aspects and elements and departments of government into partisan MAGA ideological actors. It will scale up the power of the presidency. It will diminish any ability to work beyond partisan lines. And it would be the authoritarian nightmare that Jason Stanley spoke about on MSNBC. We're going to listen to a very short clip here. Here is Jason Stanley, former guest on the show. Check out his interviews, an expert on authoritarianism and more. And he explains how this is the blueprint for a second Trump term. And remember, on yesterday's show, we looked at MAGA Mike Johnson saying, this will be the priority. We're going to do the things that are laid out in Project 2025 if Trump wins and if MAGA Mike is still in power, which is a question. Here is Jason Stanley explaining it, and then we're going to delve into it in some more detail.
Now, Project 2025 is a blueprint for the second Trump term, and its first priority for the Department of Commerce is to replace employees by make all decision making done by political appointees.
Right.
Now, just imagine that. They're supposed to provide us with independent information about the economy. Instead, they'll be providing us with the kind of information used to justify whatever will increase Trump and his cronies' wealth.
Now, I want to, before we dive more deeply into Project 2025, I want to address one piece of misinformation that's being spread by Republicans about Project 2025 to try to defend it. Many Republicans, when they are confronted with the reality of Project 2025, will link to articles that say, for example, oh, Biden is cleaning house of Trump's political appointees and saying, see, look, every president does this. And the, of course, reality is no. As we have talked about before, when a new president comes in, they often replace ambassadors around the world. They replace cabinet members, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Transportation. They replace a number of other political appointees at various departments, but they don't go in and mass fire career bureaucrats in non-political positions and replace them with political loyalists. That's what Project 2025 is about. When Stephen Bannon, Trump's former propagandist, talks about deconstructing the administrative state, it's very poorly coded and thinly veiled language to say we are going to take positions that are not historically political, and we are going to put in loyalists who will, yes men and yes women who will do whatever the hell Trump wants. Now, there are a lot of specifics to talk about here. The specifics of the non-political positions where we would see replacement with political loyalists are only part of the plan. But the plan overall is turn the federal government in sum total, that's SUM total, into the operational arm of MAGA. And that's a major shift. That's a major shift even from traditional conservative strategies, where it used to be, this isn't me looking at Mitt Romney or William F. Buckley or Reagan through rose-colored glasses. This is a reality. It used to be that traditional conservatives wanted to limit government through fiscal measures and through reduction in size of government. Now, we could agree or disagree with them. In many cases, I disagreed with them, but they weren't looking to turn every department and every bureaucracy into a political tool. They wanted to, in some cases, they wanted to diminish the power in those cases. And when Trump talks about expanding Schedule F, it's a phrase you'll often hear him use. It's not even clear he knows what it means. When they talk about expanding Schedule F, it means growing the percentage of federal workers who can be fired. And in many cases, it's by tens of thousands of roles. And they want to do that to many policymaking roles. They want to focus in on the Department of Justice and the FBI. They say, we're not for defunding the police. It's Democrats who are defunding the police. But now, unfortunately, for those who still understand how the country's supposed to function, Republicans see the Department of Justice and the FBI as obstacles to right-wing policy. So that's another change they want to make: defund and deconstruct the DOJ and the FBI. They want to reclassify federal employees as at-will workers to make it easier to fire them and then to replace them with political loyalists. They want to overhaul, is the word they use, a bunch of different departments, and that will limit the independence of many of these departments, and it will allow for the political reversal of many policies that have been built up non-politically across many administrations. And of course, at the end of it, there is, in some cases, we want to reduce the federal workforce. We may want to eliminate some departments, but their ability to get that done in 4 years is quite limited. So what we are talking about is turning everything about the federal government into weaponized political positions. And in my view, anybody who dismisses this as not that much of a concern is really missing an extraordinary danger to the way this country was supposed to function.
All right, we're back on the other side with Big Papa and myself, Shanan E. Jones. Hey, Shanan, tell the people to like it, tell the people to subscribe to the channel, tell the people to make comments, tell the people that we do this strictly for the people to inform them of what's really going on. Like us, subscribe to the channel.
Please like us, please subscribe to us, and please comment and share. Don't forget to share. What did Mama always tell you to share? What are we telling you today? Share. Big Papa's telling you to share. The Bishop is telling you to share. Like us, subscribe, comment, and share.
All right. So let's talk about this Project 2025. You know, we've been on this, for over a year, talking about it, and people, they just find it sinking into people that this is a serious thing that's happening with Project 2025 and trying to overthrow the government in another way by bringing in a dictator with a playbook to turn over how government is ran and change what we know to be the system that we've been living under for 234 years. So, Shanan, the floor is all yours. So, you got it, Big Papa.
Well, what will it do? Basically, Trump came in office and was ill prepared in 2016. Many of his appointees did not understand how to run a government, and they tried to run it like they ran their businesses, or they ran, whatever it was that they ran into the ground, they thought that they could come in and do that with the country. And it really derailed Trump from being able to really have a serious agenda. And he had to go out and tell you that it was beautiful, it was wonderful, it's fantastic, it's so great, it's so whatever. And it was really a bunch of failed policies that just weren't working by folks that never took the time to understand that we were a government of laws. And so they're basically now trying to centralize powers and to project aims to advance the mission of the Republican Party. And they're trying to do crazy stuff like put the Federal Trade Commission and the Federal Communications Commission, that's the money, and the TV, put that under presidential control. To strip away the autonomy of the Justice Department, which was really normalized, we know, during the Watergate administration, during the Nixon administration, during the Nixon administration, excuse me, and basically put the Justice Department under the control of the White House. What is that? The Federal Trade Commission deals with the money. Federal Communications Commission deals with the media and communication. And then the Justice Department deals with the breaking of laws and the policing of the breaking of laws, the enforcement of those laws. Put that all under the control of the government. And basically this could potentially stymie the ability to ensure a fair and impartial administration. They're looking to reinstate Trump's executive order Schedule F, which would reclassify a right-wing Republican to have this job or that job. These are not political jobs. But now they actually said, according to Axios, that was reported last month, that the Trump administration is already, hear me, they're already not only measuring the drapes in the White House, but pre-screening thousands of potential employees and appointees based on political ideology, based on the fact that they can be Manchurian candidates. And they're checking to see what would-be candidates will already be loyal to Trump. So this is a hypnotization of a bunch of people. We talked about QAnon, but basically this is the Heritage Foundation trying to make sure that they can take back, as they say, the control from the liberals and be able to control the the executive for the next 15 years. And it's nothing new, Bishop.
Right,
this is really nothing new.
Well,
2025 is no different than basically the plan that Reagan had 50 years ago. It's basically the same playbook that the Heritage Foundation has. It went on to become, Reagan's administration went on to become, the playbook went on to become very influential in Reagan's administration, and he adopted about 2/3 of the blueprint, which had about 2,000 recommendations of what Trump should do, and it shaped both his domestic and his foreign policies, including anti-communism initiatives and Soviet-aligned governments in Afghanistan and Angola and Cambodia and Grenada and all the stuff that we remember that was happening. So this is a dusted-off playbook that has already been in place, and what they've done is they're just putting in some new markers to kickstart Trump's time in the White House to be the spark that ignites the flame of making sure that they can control the federal government for the next, and federal and state governments for the next 15 years.
The hypocrisy of the Republican Party it blows your mind in terms of really the fatness of this plan by the Heritage Foundation and many other conservative groups. The Heritage Foundation is kind of like the umbrella and everybody is kind of like under that umbrella. Because, we've been dealing with the Koch brothers for the longest, and that legislation, and they're part of this whole conservative movement or this Project 2025 to control segments of government, to take segments of government and put it under control of a dictator who will dictate as to how this will go and how that will go and how that will go, who can be hired, who can be fired. And as you said, they're already vetting people for these positions to know that they can actually carry out the play. It's like, actually, really, if we're moving for like sports, when people try out for the team, they try out, and when they try out, they give them certain plays to see if they can run these plays. And if they can run these plays, they'll make the team. So this is what's taking place really across this country now and this has been in place, like you said, they just dusted off and added a few things because they saw the fallishness in Trump and his inability to carry out. So they want to surround him now with people, if he's elected, with people who have what they need and know how to carry out the play, the plan. They want to do away with departments like TSA. They want to do away with TSA. I mean, they want to do away with these departments, like when Trump came in and he did away with the department that Obama had established to deal with diseases and stuff like that, Ebola, those kind of diseases. And then we ended up with what? COVID-19, right? Because there was no department there to deal with disease control, and they left it up to Fauci to try to do what he was doing in the health department that was there, but they were not really equipped to deal with the kinds of things that department that was formed was able to do, right? So they did. So I mean, people have to look at and to see these things that were created. They were created to create that things are not working, but they're the reason things are not working. And I heard one commentator say this, and it may when you pull a string off of a shirt or a sweater or what have you, but you say, that string need to be pulled. Well, you pull that string and everything, you done unravel the whole sweater, right? Because you keep pulling, and then next thing you got to pull something, you got to pull. So is this a perfect system? But this is the system we are used to. This is a system that has been adopted, and we don't want to go away from what we know. We may want to tweak some of the things because we know that some justice is not fair. We see that in the court system now, what's going on with this trial, with his trials, and how Judge Cannon is doing, and people who he has appointed to these positions, what they're doing, even on the Supreme Court, what they're doing to protect him, and they kept carry out this Project 2025. Because that's what it's all about. Marjorie Taylor Greene sitting up there trying to remove Mike Johnson because she said he didn't do what he said he was going to do, and he has betrayed the MAGA party, right? The MAGA party. She said Republican Party, actually she's talking about the MAGA party because he didn't do what they wanted him to do, and to do with government. And you Johnny Eisen said this. Johnny Eisen, you remember we did that thing with Johnny. He said that he believed in bipartisan politics, that Republicans and Democrats can work together on a mutual agenda and move things forward. That's what Johnson did. She doesn't like it because she thought that he was going to do what she wanted to do, because she's a part of that Project 2025. She's looking to become some Speaker of the House or some high position that controls. That's why she's so vocal and saying so much. And I think that the Republican Party, they're getting sick of the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and those individuals who are trying to turn this country into something that it was not established to be. So Project 2025 is trying to change the government that we know, and we must be aware of it. And Donald Trump is the person that they've selected to be the one to carry out that play in that book and bring in those people who will help him carry out the mission of the Heritage Foundation and those conservative groups. That's real talk, right here on Straight Talk.
Absolutely. And one thing I left out, and I think this is important because we all talk about the plan to restructure the government, but we have to realize that the blueprint also revives this failed push that the Trump administration tried to do in 2019, which was for the youth, which would be to ask for the U.S. citizenship status of every person living in every household in America. Okay? And so the Supreme Court shot it down for being implausible and legally inadequate. They didn't need it. They said, we don't need to do it. But the critics kept arguing that making that change, well, they said that it was important to know, those proposing it were saying that it was important to know, who the U.S. citizens were in every household. Like, we need to know who are citizens. So we're not counting people, but we need to be counting people and knowing what their citizenship status was. So critics argue that making that change would discriminate against minorities and would scare off immigrant households from participating in the census. And basically, they said that it would basically be used to scrutinize people's legal status and could lead to immigrants being undercounted in states, particularly in Democratic states. And those Democratic states, if they were undercounted, well, Bishop, could get less representation in Congress and less funding. So this move that they're doing is basically a unitary executive theory that argues that the Congress can't limit the president's control of the executive branch. So then the president becomes, to a certain extent, king. He's going to control the Federal Trade Commission. He's going to control the FCC, the communication. So FTC is the consumers, is the money. He's going to control that. He's going to control the federal communications. He's going to control the Justice Department, which can slap his hand, put people in jail for breaking the law. And then he already, what powers does the president already control? Who is he the commander-in-chief already the moment he puts his hand on that Bible and says, so help me God? He's already, at that point, the commander-in-chief of the military. So he'll control justice, military, communication,
right,
trade, and based on this unitary theory, he would end up controlling Congress and limiting the power and the money of Congress. That's a king to me, and not a king today. Not a king because the kings today in the UK, King Charles is primarily ceremonial. I mean, he's the king for sure, and the government is his and all that. But the government is run by Parliament and the Prime Minister, right? And they serve him the church, but he's over the church and he's over. But that's largely ceremonial. You get to a place like Brunei, where that king, that's an absolute monarchy. That king controls the finances. That king controls the Sultan, controls finances. He controls the military. He controls the Justice Department. He controls everything in government. And all the money of the government is here.
Hey, Shanan, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to have to stop right here because our time has been well spent. But I certainly hope that people will pay attention to what we're saying. When you get ready to vote, when you're voting now, make sure that you understand why you're voting and who you're voting for and what's really at stake. Democracy is really at stake. Hey, you tune in next week to Straight Talk to yours truly, Greg Fann, the preacher man, and Shanan E. Jones, Big Papa. He'll be off location hopefully next week. And don't forget to like us. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to make comments. Don't forget that share, and subscribe. So when we come on, you'll know that we're on. And you can email us at straighttalknews1362@gmail.com if you have information that you'd like to share and if you'd like to be a guest. Well, until next week, it ain't been nothing but what? Straight Straight Talk.
Straight Talk? Email Greg Fann at FANN922 at Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shanan Jones.